Hey everybody, I'm Odin, and we are starting a new playthrough of Unreal World. Now, Unreal World is a roguelike that is set in Iron Age Finland, and the objective is to simply survive. There's, of course, all kinds of things you can do, but essentially at its core, it is about survival, and from the relatively few times I've played it so far, it's extremely difficult to survive, alright? So I have done a short series before from this game, and that one's a little more beginner friendly. But I'll still be explaining things as we go, but just maybe not as much as I had done back then, but I'll put a link in the description. So let's just go ahead and get right into this. So we're going to go to create a character, and we're going to go with custom here. And our name is going to be, let's see, how about, I think that's very similar to the one that I used in the previous playthrough, but we'll try that. Thunar sounds like a good name. Alright, so here's where we pick our culture, and down at the bottom of the screen as I go through these you can see it tells you a little bit about them. You can press F1 to go to the game encyclopedia to read these full entries here. Basically, I'm going to choose this first one. I really don't know how to pronounce things in this game, and I apologize ahead of time, but I would guess something like Kaumolainen, something like that would be the culture, and they live in the vast forests. And my whole thing is we want to be somewhere where obviously we're near a water source, but that there's lots and lots of trees, because that's what we'll spend most of our time doing, is working with, well, timber crafting, things like that. So we'll go here with this culture. We'll choose our sex, will be male. Here we can choose a picture of our character. How could you go wrong with this one? All right, that'll work. All right, now we're going to choose a season to begin in. And if I remember correctly, maybe not every time, but sometimes when you choose spring, the game actually starts at the very end of winter. So it can still be pretty rough, especially if you're really far north. But we'll go with spring. And so here it has rolled our stats and attributes. So let's see what we have here. Intelligence is extremely high. That I usually end up with a roll that's relatively low in intelligence. That's wonderful. Will is really good as well. And then down here, there's almost nothing that's, unimpressive. Dexterity could be better, but it's really not terrible. Touch, same kind of situation, but it's great that strength is maxed out. Lots of endurance, lots of agility. Our eyesight is great. Our hearing is great. Our smell, taste is great. So these are all very good things. And of course, we have our bodily dimensions over here. And you can re-roll them, or you can just keep going, and we're going to keep going. Here's spells and magic means. These are the spells that you start with. And as you roll over these here, as you hover over them, you can see it describes what it is. And this is basically I would guess, an approximation of maybe an ancient magical practices that would have been around in this region. So this is actually very interesting. And we'll talk more about that as we get to it. Alright, so now we're at the skills screen. And now, now I'm starting to see why our other stats were good. They were just going to take everything away from me when it comes to skills, it looks like. No, I mean, sometimes I usually start with a few more decent skills than this. Alright, that's fine. So we have 5 options here that we can increase. I generally leave all this stuff alone here at the beginning. I generally just work with lore and craft skills. So let's see. Cookery is going to be important. We're already adequate at it, but that's going to be important, so I'm going to use the plus sign to add a little more there. So now we are competent. Fishing is how I usually try to survive, and it never keeps me alive. I always end up starving to death at the edge of some water source, but I will keep hope alive, so we'll be a novice at that. Timbercraft is going to be very important, so I'm going to put a point into that, so now it's at adequate. Tracking is already good, so I'm not going to put a point into that, but that is very useful. Carpentry is another thing we're going to rely on. And I think I should put a point into trapping. I was thinking of putting another into carpentry, but I think we'll get this up by using the skill. It depends. I don't know how often we'll be trying to use traps, but we're going to try that. We're going to put a point there. So, are you happy with this? Yes, indeed. So now it's generating the world map here, and this is where you choose where your game starts. Now the red square is where I would start. This is just a random thing. I think that's a little too far north. However, you can sometimes when you look at the map here, there's much more snow here at the start of spring, so I think this is actually going to start us in spring. So that's good, but I still don't want to be too far north. I also want to start within my home culture, and so that would be over here, and we can zoom in and out with the plus and minus keys. And it looks like, yeah, we got of course lakes nearby everywhere, and we've got a river over here to the east. Perhaps even a series of rivers. So yeah, that seems like a good place to start. So we're going to enter and play this world. All right, so here you pick your scenario. And this is basically what determines, I think, the things that you start with, among other things. So I usually go with the village. And as you can see here, it says, start playing outside a strange but cozy looking village. I don't think the strange thing is anything sinister. But this is great because if you find yourself in a situation where the weather is just so bad that you're trying to sleep in your makeshift shelter and it's just not working because you're too cold or too wet or whatever it might be, you can go into the village and you stay inside a house there. So we're going to start with the village scenario. There's a longer description of it here, and you can always pause the video and read that if you'd like to. So we're going to select this scenario. And then you select your game course, and this is basically, ultimately you do what you want to do, but the first one is free gameplay, that's total sandbox. The second one here is essentially a tutorial, and I'm going to use this one. I'm going to start with this because it helps refresh my memory, because there's going to be plenty of things I still either never knew or things I've forgotten since the last time we played. And then there's more advanced kind of tutorial type of stuff as I understand it in this one, though I haven't played it. So again, we're going with Living in the Wild. Alright, so we are now going to enter the world. Alright, so here's the encyclopedia, just tells you some opening stuff here. We're going to go ahead and close that. And this is our intro scenario screen, and this is just basically telling us that we're outside of a village. That's what's going on there. Okay, so this is the actual gameplay. This is the interface, and what we're currently looking at is the zoomed out world map view, kind of. You can also switch to a local view, which I'll show you in just a moment. But right here it's telling me a settlement comes into view up ahead, so they want me to press space. And this is the tutorial that I had mentioned. So this is how this works. We'll go down this list one at a time and learn all the different skills. It'll give you information about the skills and what you need to do. And then it will give you the related key commands, which is very, very helpful. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to find water. It could be a lake, it could be a pond. There's also apparently water sources in the villages. I'm assuming there's like a well or something, but I haven't actually found one. But yeah, so water is what we're going to be looking for. By the way, F5 brings up that particular game course and task information screen. Okay, so right here it's showing us kind of a visual representation of where we are, the time of day. If we were in the local view, which you can access with Enter, it will give you kind of a picture of what your surroundings look like. Let me go back out with Enter, back out to the zoomed out view, and you can move on the map in either view. So you can see that there is a village to the north of us, so that's where we're going to be headed. This over here tells us the season, and it is actually latter winter. Okay, and the time of the year, and well, or the month, I suppose, and then the time of day. Over here, real quickly, you can see how much we're carrying in pounds, and this is our kind of encumbrance penalty as a result. Here's our fatigue level. As it fills up, we're more and more tired. If we have an injury, it'll show up here, and if we're starving, we'll see that increase, and all of these penalties will total up there. Of course, there's a bar for blood loss as well. Here's hunger and thirst, same kind of thing. As hunger fills up, you're more and more hungry. So you want it to look like this, essentially. There's our nutrition level, warmth, and our overall energy level here, and then wielded weapons. Alright, so we want to visit this village. So I'm going to go back to the local view, and we're using the numpad to move around. Very traditional roguelike stuff here. And so you can see this is behind me, so I don't have a visual, obviously. That's why it's this kind of dim color. If something is actually, the line of sight is actually blocked, it appears as black. So like right here, because of this, there, because of that. So I'm just going north here. If you stop by something, you can press lowercase L to look. And it says you see a rock there. I can then move on top of it and use lowercase g to grab it. It says you pick up the rock. And if we press I, we'll see our inventory, and there's that rock. Now we can also take a quick look at our starting gear. So we start with a hunting knife, a staff, a woodsman's axe, a short bow, and 6 arrows. I haven't actually started with a bow and arrows before. That's interesting. Okay, and then we have rough leather boots, rough woolen trousers, linen tunic, and a rough fur hood. So if we were further up north, I'm pretty sure we would start with even more, or at least warmer clothing. And we have 2, I guess, loaves of rye bread, a dried haircut, and that sounds strange, but in other words, a cut of meat from a hare. And then 3 smoked black grouse cuts. Alright. So let's continue looking for the village here. And as I mentioned, we can travel on the world map, but we're already, just to demonstrate it, I can just walk like this, and you'll cover more ground. And if you land on a village like that, or a point of interest, it will automatically zoom you in. And it says you are entering a Kaumalays village. So we're kind of up on a hill here, which is why we can see more. Okay, there's a person right there. Alright, we're going to walk up to them and we're going to press capital C, I think is what it is, yes, to chat. Okay, and I'm going to greet this maiden. Good morning, unfamiliar tribesman. What's on your mind? And this is, I guess, a benefit to starting in your cultural region, is you are a kinsman kind of thing, and so maybe people will be less wary of you. I don't know if that's exactly how it works. I assume it is. And I will say, I am Thunar Kalmalena. And who are you? And she says, I'm Helna. Then we will go back, and I'm going to ask for directions. So I can ask her, where is your village water supply? I can also ask where I could find a lake. So we'll start with the village water supply. And she tells us that our water supply is in the west, so we might be able to find, and again, I'm assuming it's a well. But I also would like to know if there's a lake nearby. Okay, she says there is a lake in the southeast, here at, oh man, Day Mountain. It's less than a mile away southeast. Okay, alright. So we'll remember that southeast is where that lake is. Let's kind of explore a little more here. Another thing that's good to know is you can hold down Control and use plus and minus to zoom in and out. So that's the maximum zoom out for local view. That's the maximum zoomed in range there. And so here's another person we could just talk to again, capital C. And again, we could just ask about caves, I suppose. I have not tried to go into caves before. Seems dangerous. There's a cave in the southwest at the region called Revanupi Fox Point. About 9, that's pretty far away to the southwest. Okay. Alright, so it's kind of hard to tell the exact, I guess, the borders or the perimeter of the villages. Because I don't think they have, fences or anything. I'm assuming this would be the western edge. Oh no, see, there's more structures over here. Okay, we can open that and we can look around in here. We can Use lowercase l, a wooden tub of water. Oh, this looks like a sauna room. Yeah, and that's a sauna stove. Okay. Okay, there's another. I really am curious about. There's a well. I mean, honestly, getting access to water is not that big of a deal around here, especially when there's a lake nearby. Okay, we've definitely gone out. Definitely gone out of the village here. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm there's no way it could be that tub. That's not a water source. No one would call it that. All right, now what is this? Please pick a direction where you can see. Oh, I can't see there. What's here? The southern wall of a coda. Oh, that's a coda. I guess that's some kind of structure. Just a different kind of structure as opposed to the houses. I don't know. Okay. Okay. I'm telling you, I'm so... Each time I've gone to a village, I haven't been able to find the water source. It must be that I'm just that... I'm that bad, I'm that dumb. I mean, that's certainly possible. Okay, so we're gonna have a change of plans. Let's go back... Oh, to get to the world map again, we have to leave the village proper here. Let's go up. Here's some tracks. Let's go up here and see if we can zoom out yet. There we go. Okay, so turning back around, there's the village. And then we want to go southeast to find this lake. It was supposedly less than a mile. Okay, so apparently we're on a hill. That's why all of this opened up for us here. Okay, let's zoom out a little. It maybe, it must be relatively small, I would guess, the lake. There's no way this is like more than or less than a mile or whatever. All right, let's zoom back in. Oh, what happened? You encounter an animal, you think it's a squirrel, and it says, you can zoom in to deal with this, but I'm not too concerned about the squirrel right now. I will, however, zoom in just for a moment, because we've been walking a long way, especially because we were using the zoomed out map there. So you can see our fatigue here is at 50%. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to rest until our fatigue is taken care of. And I believe the proper key is the backslash. Yes, movement and rest actions. So we're going to go with rest until not fatigued. There we go. So now I'm going to go back out and make our way generally back towards that village. Okay, so there it is. Oh, there's some wildlife present over here. I wonder where... Okay, so we are like one tile, I think, southeast? No, this is one tile southeast. Let's see if maybe there's just a really small lake. Normally it would be very clear on the world map view. Let's zoom out to give us a little bit more of a perspective here. I don't know. I think we've been had. So here's what we're going to do. We really need to find water now. I didn't think it was going to be a problem, but I think it is going to be a problem now. So the question is, which way should we go? Go north. I think there's hills here. Okay. Now, zoom in a little. Zoom. Okay, as you explore the wilderness, a settlement comes into view up ahead. A settlement? I wonder... Oh, they're talking about this way over here. Okay, yeah, so we're up on a pretty high point. We've got a great view here. I know that we had rivers to our east when we were looking at the world map. I'm watching my fatigue right now, by the way, because it's starting to get pretty bad. Now, so here's the thing. So it's only late morning, and we're gonna rest for the second time. So our energy level is still lively, but it's not going to last for long. So again, we'll hit backslash rest until not fatigued. We can also just use capital R, by the way. All right, there's some water. Looks like we got a lake or a pond, some sort here. All right, so we're going to zoom in, and it should be... All right, so here's my question. Is this the water source? And if it is, can we get through the ice? So let me look here and see if it'll tell me. You see ice. That's right. So this is the lake. Zoom out as far as we can. Let's try to get a better sense here of the real size. Try and... Okay, so there's the southern edge. All right, so we should be able... let me try. Okay, so normally to drink you would use lowercase q to quaff, and so if we were just standing here, we could use q to do that. But if it's ice, okay, so we press q and it says make a hole in the ice. Yes. Press the direction you want to with either the numpad or the mouse here, and it says to do this you will need equipment or materials, and it tells you what it is. It's a weapon. So I'll press space to continue. And we have made a hole in the ice. Now we can press lowercase q, drink from the natural source. And now we go back to this screen automatically because we have just completed the water task. Alright, so if we exit out, it'll bring up the next one, a closer look. And so this is telling you about zooming in and out. We've already done that. So when I press escape, it's going to achieve that. One more time, and now it says picking up, and it's going to tell us, you know, how to pick things up. It's lowercase g or comma, or you can use uppercase G if you want to pick it up from an adjacent tile. And this is where we're going to end this first episode of this playthrough. Thank you very much for hanging in there and hanging out with me. I appreciate that. Please hit like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I will see you all next time.